Could a countrywide ban on airbnbvrbo like what is happening in NYC lower the cost of housing? With so many homes being rented short-term, if it came to an end, could it force these homes to be opened up for long-term rentals and/or cause many to sell investment properties they use for this purpose? I just feel like regulation is coming for short-term rentals, and the current housing crisis will just speed it along. This is discussed often. The number of dedicated homes in the vacation rental market is low. It is usually quoted around one of the houses in the U.S. The reason this is difficult to pin down is that some people have a second home that they also do vacation rental with. Or if a family is going to Europe for 6 weeks, they can rent their house out while they are gone. A person that travels for work can make extra money using their house as an STR. Regulations exist in many U.S. locations for STRs. The issues surrounding home affordability are much wider than the easy punching bag of short-term rentals. 80 will just convert to LTR. It would not impact purchase housing. Edited missed a word. Banning corporations from buying SFH will have a significantly higher impact. Rental companies are a very small portion of housing. It's hilarious to me that a heavy-handed, market-crushing policy like this, which wouldn't even put a meaningful dent in the problem, is being proposed. Meanwhile, all of the obvious and effective ideas, namely curtailing local zoning restrictions, are only just now getting real traction in various state legislatures. Pro-supply, pro-housing policy works, and there's no need to get creative or start proposing draconian bans on free market activity. In fact, even better, as housing supply and homeownership increases, the cost of vacation rentals will come down alongside home prices. Everyone wins. I live in NYC and I don't think any regulation is going to have a significant effect on housing prices, rents. No. Hell no. Airbnbs are outlawed in Vegas, but we still have a lack of housing. I'm sure hotels would love that. This would never happen due to all the tourist towns that had vacation rentals before the Airbnb craze. Think beach towns and ski towns. Small governments and towns all over the country would be up in arms about this. But to answer your question, it would have an impact in some areas and none in others. It's not going to lower the cost of housing in the suburbs of Westchester County, NY or Northern NJ, because there are very little Airbnbs. It may help a city like Charleston, which has a ton of tourists. It would probably destroy a town like Killington, VT. No Airbnb is less than one of housing. It doesn't affect the market in any way except for small tourist spots. Stop spreading this fake narrative. It won't be regulated nationwide. I do expect regulation at the city-state level though. Restricting what owners can do and have been doing for years with their property is a bit of political suicide. Takes a lot of support and political willpower for something like that. Absolutely it would. We would be back at a normal inventory immediately. There is a shortage of homes, there's an oversupply of Airbnb grifters. No, we simply need more houses to be built. Not the point of this discussion, but I don't think that could ever be considered legal. But the amount of housing that is dedicated for short-term rentals is quite low. Obviously, certain markets are more concentrated than others. Maybe not, but a ban restrictions on purchasing of single-family homes probably could. Homes are currently being treated like shares of a company by a lot of investors. While that's great and all, it is having a very real impact on the ability for the average person to ever buy a house, and it is driving rent prices up as every investor wants a return on that investment property over the mortgage payment they're having to make on it. It would make sense that it would. I think that was the whole reason for getting rid of Airbnb basically in NYC. It was driving up the cost of living. Possibly. But every step we take down this road is more and more us allowing the government to dictate what we can and cannot do with our lawfully purchased assets. It is very important to keep that in mind. A right, once given away, is almost never regained. The reason STRs are being banned in NYC is because tenants are subleasing their apartments via Airbnb to profit at the expense of their landlords. Landlords can't check the credit background of the STR tenant, etc. It's the exact opposite of what's happening everywhere else in the country. Landlords and property owners support the NYC ban. Property owners in, say, Scottsdale as would not support that kind of ban. TLDR NYC has a unique housing market. What happens there is not a good indicator as to what happens everywhere else. I would much prefer a national initiative to tackle archaic and exclusionary zoning. We don't need to destroy the suburbs or whatever hysterical phrase people use, but we need to encourage more density and more building, especially near public transit. The only solution to lower the cost is the increased supply. Short-term rentals are a very small share of inventory. Even if you banned it nationwide, it wouldn't make a long-term impact. That's putting aside the issue of property rights. Places like NYC, etc. need to incentivize builders to build more housing by getting rid of some insane regulations and costs. Airbnb rental properties only account for a small percentage of homes. The reasoning why housing cost is high is due to low inventory and high demand. If anything, housing costs would actually increase as short-term investors disappear and these homes are either converted to long-term rentals or gobbled up by large investors, thus consolidating the market share into a handful of institutions. Everyone says we don't have inventory, that's why prices are high. The opposite is happening in airbnbvrbo. No, the Commerce Clause in the Constitution prevents such actions. No, STRs account for a teeny-tiny fraction of a % of the housing stock. We have too many people chasing a limited number of homes. Supply and demand. The first place I would start is with the 40 million illegals in the country. There are also at least 260,000 people who entered our country illegally last month and are taking up valuable rental opportunities. Imagine that times 36 months. Ship them all back. Solved your housing crisis. No. If they are the most economical option, their existence promotes investment in housing. Making properties less profitable despite overwhelming demand is not the solution. It's unnecessary. Those are a fad that's already going away. You could probably estimate the impact by taking all the cities that have passed laws similar to NYC's and comparing how their housing market changed relative to rest of the country in the years following the ban. Since nobody ever does this. No. Simple as that. Real estate investor has the money to invest. And they will find or invent ways to invest. NYC really doesn't have a ton of Airbnbs. Doing it will invalidate most leases and most people will tattle on neighbors. Keys are a huge hassle and security risk. What is common is letting friends and family stay short-term or subletting for more than 30 days. This might help in big cities that people want to visit and beach ski towns and other vacation areas. But countrywide? It's not going to do anything. There are countless suburbs and small towns with essentially zero short-term rentals. Banning them won't do anything to the availability cost of housing. No.